And this is the introduction to databases. Um, Firstly, what are databases? Databases are organized storage of data for the purpose of processing to produce meaningful and faster retrieval of data. What does that mean? It doesn't matter if you have so many gathered data if you're not able to use it for any reason, for business decisions, for improving your processes, or even um, improving your performance. Okay, so that is the purpose of the database. We have two types: the NoSQL database and relational database management systems. Now, on this video, we are going, or in this series, we are going to focus on the relational database management system, or the RDBMS. The RDBMS is the software that enable you to create, manage databases. And what is the advantage of this traditional databases? It is, since now these days you have unlimited amount, no, not unlimited amount, you have the opportunity to gather data because of technology. Unlike before, that in you have to do paperworks, you manually put it into a database management. But right now with the technology, you can capture many datas using software, and RDVMS is the software that enables you to create and manage databases. What are the advantages compared to the traditional ones? Is one is the minimize data redundancy, and secondly, to reduce data inconsistencies. Remember that in an organization, they have their own databases for their own purposes. For example, IT has their own database, sales there has their own database. But if you have an RDVMS where there is a single point of source of truth, that would be an inefficient for the company. Um, and that is to reduce inconsistencies. Okay, so if one, for example, if one um, in a sales company, if one product is already unlisted, it will be affected to all of the department, for the ITs, for the sales, for the um, audit team. It would be efficiently eliminated for throughout the company. That's the beauty of our DBMS. And there are two types of DBMS. We have the open source and proprietary owned. For the open source, we have three: the MySQL, MariaDB, and PostgreSQL. Those are the open source DBMS. They are free to use. And we have also the proprietary ones owned by specific vendors: the Oracle database owned by the Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, and the IBM DB2. Um, since this recording, or this series, is mainly focused on the Microsoft SQL Server, so we're gonna tackle more on the SQL Server database. SQL Server database is the Microsoft Relational Database Management System. It has two, I mean, four editions. Two of them are free and two of them are paid. Two of them, two of those free are Express and Developer. Although they are free, they are limited to the size and performance. They can only um, process a set of limited datas, and as well as the performance. For the paid versions, which has the capacity to handle terabytes and is used by many enterprises, these are the standard and the enterprises. So we have four: Express and Developer for the free, and then we have the standard and enterprise for the paid editions. Now on the database objects. In database objects, we have a few that are present in a database. We call them database objects. First is the table. Table is an object used to store data. And views are stored query definitions. They don't store data, but they are used to simplify a statement, or um, they are used to secure data access. We will get more to this on the later part of the series. Um, it's just that views are, it's like a set of queries that if you type it in, you have a set of uh, views that you can see. Okay, we'll talk. You will understand this at the later part of the series, and then stored procedures. Stored procedures are stored TSQL script that can include queries, data definition, and queries and data definition language statements. Okay, those are stored procedures. And then we have user-defined functions. User-defined functions are similar to stored procedures that can return tabular data on a single value but cannot affect anything outside of the function. So it's just user-defined definition. So stored procedures, they are in the database system, and we have the user-defined functions. And then we have indexes. So what are indexes? Is structured in locating rows. Those are indexes. They are structured to control, in helping to locate rows. Those are indexes. Constraints, rules controlling the behavior of a table, and data is stored in a column. So constraints are just like some sort of a controlling mechanism that the table should behave, and the data is stored in it. The type is, it is also a control that defines the type of data that a column can store. It's quite of uh uh what do you call this one? It's quite a I don't know the word, but it's not uh easily understandable. But constraints, it's the behavior of the data is stored. Constraint. Types are the type of data that can store. So, for example, if a column can store numeric only, it can only store numeric, like numbers. Okay, so those are the difference. Triggers are a special type of stored procedures that um, that fires when specific something happens. For example, if someone is updating a raw, that is a trigger, and uh, then the trigger fires. So that's a trigger. Okay. Rules and defaults no longer recommended, only be for backward compatibility. And then plan guides, advanced feature used to override SQL Server. This is the advanced we should tackle in this series. And sequences containing hold increment numbers. Those are sequences. And lastly, synonyms, nicknames or aliases for database objects. This is also used um, to make it efficient. Instead of writing the whole name of the table, just put an alias for a single letter. For example, the table name is people.table. You can use an alias .t, and for the rest of the query, you can just use t. Okay. So what are the data types? From the word here, data types, we are going to focus on the data types. What are the data types? We have numeric, approximate numeric, um, character strings, Unicode, date, and time data types. So in numeric, we have Bigint, numeric, bit, small integer, decimal, small money, integer, tiny tint, and money. Um, Approximate numeric, we have the float and real. Character strings, we have the char, varchar, and text. Unicode, nchar, nvarchar, and ntext. Date and time, we have date, time, and date time. So these are the data types that you can define in a database or in an object. Um, let's have an example for now. For if you say a column should uh, can only accept integer, it can only accept numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It won't accept um, uh, alphabet characters like A, B, C, D, E, F. So that's the data types. Now, in database schemas, these schemas are container or logical collection to organize database objects. For example, I would like to organize this table to a logical collection. I will put in person. So the person is the schema. Person is the schema. Now let's go to query languages. Query languages is a non-procedural language to retrieve and modify data. Microsoft uses TSQL or Transact SQL. And a little bit of history, SQL and SQL standardization. SQL a structured query language became standard in 1978 by ANSI and ISO, or I forgot the ANSI, but the ISO stand for International Standard Organization. So what can an SQL do? First is execute queries against database, retrieve data from the database, insert records in the database, update records, create new database, create new table, create a stored procedure, and set permissions to the tables, database, etc. Note that all DBMS have their own proprietary extensions. For example, um, like the Oracle DBMS at Microsoft, they have although SQL standard, there are vendor-specific commands that you can do, and uh, these varies from vendor to vendor. So in SQL, in general we have four sub-languages. We have the DML, DDL, and DML, DDL, TCL, and PLSQL. DML stands for data manipulation language. Data manipulation language are commands that tells what is stored in the database. So these are the I call it CDO or select, insert, delete, and update. CDO. These are data manipulation language, and DDL, it answers how the data is stored in a database. These are data definition language. Okay, DML, data manipulation language. DDL stands for definition language, and then TCL stands for transaction control language. What are these? These are language. Uh, this language controls SQL DML. These are begin, commit, save point, and rollback. So BCSR. So begin, commit, save point, and rollback. And then we have the PL SQL or procedural language extension for SQL, procedural language extension for SQL, and it is an Oracle specific sublanguage such as loops, functions, and variables. So don't forget the sublanguages. So be aware of what you are doing if you are doing the data manipulation language or you are doing the data definition language. Um, so this has been fun. Um, Thank you for watching. Bye.